What's the product? Because okay, let me before I ask you what your product is, let me explain this. You can absolutely launch organic Kickstarter campaigns without any um, pre-campaigning lead gen beforehand and have an extremely successful Kickstarter campaign. I've personally launched campaigns that have done zero advertising beforehand, zero lead gen, and have funded over six figures, and less as well. But like, and from what I've seen, you can get an organic campaign to go to maybe a couple few hundred thousand, but to get above that, unless you have like a just an extremely expensive product that shoots your revenue way up. But if it's just kind of an average price product, you have a hard time. I've never really seen a project get over like a couple hundred, few hundred thousand without advertising. So just to recap that, if you want to do it the short way you're talking about, it is possible to launch and have an organic campaign, but that depends on how good your product is. Because in order for that to work, there's already people browsing on Kickstarter right now, which are typically regular Kickstarter backers, right? They're just the type of person that loves Kickstarter. They're browsing on there constantly, just looking for a new cool project to back. And so if you launch a project and it's a cool product that those people that are already there want, they'll spend their money on it and you can have an extremely successful campaign that way. But if your product isn't like tailored and relevant to that organic Kickstarter audience, then that's not going to work. So that's why I want to ask, what's your product?
When
I
you
saw.
say when
Go
you
ahead.
say organic Kickstarter campaign, are you saying you're not even running ads through the campaign?
What do you mean by running ads through the campaign?
Meaning, sorry, during the campaign. So you're not running
Yes,
like social
that,
media ads or anything?
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't do that. Our product is pretty high priced. It's probably going to be in the $300 or $400 range. I mean, we'll obviously have different levels, but it's a little bit more of an expensive product, and it's pretty specific for the consumer. So I don't think random Kickstarter people without any outside traffic, I just don't see it getting funded personally.
Well, okay, so I agree and disagree a little bit with that. Let me explain. It because there have been organic Kickstarter campaigns that are sheets and betting, but not like you're describing. What I've seen betting wise that has been extremely successful on Kickstarter has been sheets and pillows and pillowcases. But the sheets and pillowcases, for example, have something unique about their fabric that really entices people to
Right.
buy. For example, so
Bamboo or
yeah,
made out of different,
silver
silver or
silver
whatever.
lining. Yep, that stuff has worked extremely well on Kickstarter. What you're coming with is it's not
Yeah.
quite the same as the betting that's succeeded really well on Kickstarter already. So you're right. Like I that would be what I would say now that I understand your product is I don't know if I don't know if there is organically enough there for you to have a successful organic campaign with that product. So
Yeah.
my suggestion would be, yeah, spend some time doing some lead gen, some audience building beforehand, and gauging, is the market responding well? Are people signing up? Are they interested? And if that's feeling good, then at that point I would probably proceed with the Kickstarter campaign. I mean, you can
Okay.
proceed no matter what, right? Up to you, but I think
Yeah.
before you do that, it would make a lot of sense to, yeah, put some feelers out, do some audience building, some lead gen, and kind of see what happens.
So explain to me the difference between building an audience and like generating leads and testing the product to see if people like it. Right? Like, what's the difference of those two things? Because in my head, I
It's
was
all the same.
thinking, okay,
Yeah, so I mean, like, lead generation is more specifically talking about collecting people's emails, but it doesn't have to be emails. You can collect whatever type of lead information you want, but typically emails are the best because you collect their email and then you're able to email them directly to their inbox and say, hey, we're launching on this date, or like, here's some more info on the product. Um, audience building, that gathering emails and sending them like a newsletter, that is audience building. People, I think, typically in their head when they hear audience building, picture a social media account like an Instagram page or a YouTube channel, which is also audience building. um, and also lead generation. I mean, because you can, if you build a Instagram following, then yeah, you can post and say, hey, go check out the project. You can post and you have a link in your bio, and you can move people that way. But you can also collect those people's emails and add them to your email list and hit them directly in their inbox. So like it really is all the same thing. It's all lead generation, audience building, growing social media accounts. You're really just doing the same thing, which is gathering people, and you have their information, and you have a way to contact them.
I guess, is there a medium ground where we make a video, we build out the page, and we launch it, and then and we're as much pre-launch stuff we can do, and then we run ads. We just kind of like
Yeah,
absolutely
absolutely.
put as much time into it.
Yeah, you can absolutely do it that way. I would make one little adjustment there, which is to, um, if you've got time and you have a little bit of a budget, to absolutely start doing some lead gen before you launch. And the reason for that is because those first 24 to 48 hours are crucial to your campaign's momentum. If your campaign gets funded within the first day or two, that shows the Kickstarter algorithm it's a popular project, people like it, and then it starts to boost it in the rankings, on the page rankings, and so more eyeballs get on it and more people back it. So those first, and if you don't fund within those first 24 to 48, Kickstarter really just kind of lets your project fall into the pages that no one really goes to. So those first 24 to 48 are important. You want to be able to fund within that time period. And so that's where gathering an audience beforehand comes in handy, is because then you can, right as you're launching, have them already ready to go back the campaign. Like I explained, it can work without that, but the way it's going to work without that is if your product is lined up really well for those organic backers that are already there browsing, which we already talked about isn't really your product. So you can definitely launch and just start running ads, but that may make the first 24 to 48 a little bit difficult because you're just for the first time running ads. You don't know your targeting yet. You don't know how they're going to perform. So if you can do a bit beforehand, even if it's just to maybe figure out decent targeting, and the way to figure that out would, an okay way to figure that out would be to run lead gen and see, like, are you getting signups and stuff? Now, you're not going to know if those signups are actually converting to pledges and dollars for you until, your campaign's live and stuff. But you can at least start to get a feel for some interest and some targeting, and also be building a little bit of a list for when you do launch.
I thought the deposit was interesting. The Launch Boom people do that deposit, and they said that it converts 75% higher than a normal thing because they've already put like $1 down. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is really interesting, and they're probably very right about that. If someone's willing to put their credit card in and spend $1, they'll do it again.
Okay, so tell me about I saw some of your things, some of your videos, and like Kickstarter pages that you said you worked on. So a couple questions. One, did you build out the actual pages of those?
Yeah, everything you see.
Okay, and that's like all the different like still images, if there's GIFs, if there's anything like that.
Yep.
Well, did you see? I think maybe on there I put the link to the one we would do.
It's no different than really any of the other ones I've done. The only difference is they add like some glowing, right, to show, like, I guess the pain points or the correction points or whatever. Yeah. That's the only thing like you don't see in any of my campaigns, is like that added layer of glowing color. And then I guess they've got like they kind of have like the outline of the the bones and stuff. And yeah, I can do those.
So you could build a page similar to that. You could build a video similar to that, and then you could do the pre-launch, even if it's only a couple weeks or whatever, of building up an audience with ads and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then also, so once it launches, do you continue to run ads?
I mean, that just depends on what we negotiate as far as what I'm doing and not doing. But yeah, it
Okay.
definitely can. Yeah, I mean, so most of the campaigns that I've done, I've completely built from scratch, like all the content, all the copywriting, everything, and then I've also marketed them. And that, if if the creator has a budget for running ads, then that includes running Facebook ads. If there's no budget for running ads, then it includes like cross promotions and incentivizing backers and reaching out to press outlets, stuff like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so I can handle like really every aspect there is of a campaign, and I've even created my own products and launched them and fulfilled them. So I know every aspect of it. It's just a matter of like what you guys want, need, what works cost wise, and all that sort of thing.
okay. Well, how would you lay it out? What would you like recommend or propose? Both with budget, how it would kind of work, um, like percentage wise, and then timeline wise.
Sure. um, and are we going the short route here of like launching sooner than later?
Maybe let's start with that as an option.
Okay. So if I'll just start with, there's some flexibility here, but lead gen is typically like 700 to 2,000, depending on if I'm creating content and how much content I'm creating. And then as far as building, if I'm just building the campaign, no video, graphics, everything you see on a campaign page, that's typically 3,500. And then if it's a campaign that this is kind of the easiest way for me to put it, but if it's a campaign that I can kind of see, if just for like based on kind of experience and my research, that like if I'm confident in it's like the product succeeding a lot, and then me adding my marketing advertising on top of it, um, if that's just adding more fuel to the fire, then I typically like to work for 20% off of total funds raised, and I'm the one building and marketing. Um, if the product is like not I don't know if questionable is the right word, but if like the
Low
proof,
confidence.
yeah, yeah, I guess that's kind of a way to put it. But it's not so much that, and I want to explain just so you feel like I'm not like attacking your product or anything, but it's just like we had the conversation about the silver lining in the sheets. If you came to
Yeah.
me with that, I already instantly know that that's a thing that I can story tell on Kickstarter and it'll work, right? And so that speaks a lot to the platform and the people on the platform, maybe not only to the product, right? And so there's lots of products that get launched on Kickstarter that are great products, but they're just not a fit for the type of person and the type of platform that it's being launched on. And
Yeah.
so it's not necessarily just that the product is wrong or whatever, but it's just like is the product market fit there? And so if I see a clear product market fit and I go, yep, I can just throw some marketing and advertising on that and it's going to work super well, then I'm like, cool, let's just don't pay me anything up front, 20% off the back end, perfect. If there's not like if it's not as clear as that, then I like to either just do like, if you want me to build the campaign, I can do just that for the 3,500. If you want me to build and market, then we can kind of play around with some numbers and do like maybe a little bit less on the front and maybe 10% on the back or something like that. So if you want to go that route, it's probably something like that, like maybe, I don't know, 2 grand, 2,500, and 10% off the back end or something like that. If you want to go that route, we can get more specific there. But does that all make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Um, and describe like content creation for the lead gen portion. Well, actually, before I get into that, so this short route, what is your timeline like to actually get it like to click launch on Kickstarter?
Well, I'd need prototypes. like I would need product so I can actually film. Where are you guys located?
Well, the prototype is in Salt Lake, so he could probably drive it down to you. I'm in
Oh,
Fort Collins, Colorado.
okay. Well, yeah,
Are
then
you
that,
in Lehigh?
yeah, that's easy actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, once I have prototype, to build the whole campaign, 2 weeks is pretty comfortable. Um, I have built campaigns before in under a week, but those have been like this. Those have just been like simpler products. Like I could just like walk outside and put the product on a rock and like. But this I'll
Yeah.
have to like kind of have like an environment for it and stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, we were thinking around 10:15 for a launch, so that would be 3 weeks from next Wednesday if we were to get you the product, this weekend or early next week, and we all agreed to whatever we were going to do. Somewhere around there would be good. We just didn't want to get into the November months where people are really getting into holiday shopping.
yeah, I got you. Yeah, I think that's doable.
Okay. Okay, so tell me, like, just walk me through. You don't have to get into super specifics, but let's say you get the product and you start working on the 25th of September. Okay, so you got 3 weeks roughly until launch. So you're shooting the video, you're building out the page, and you're simultaneously building lead gen.
Yeah, if you'd like me to. So what if you wanted to pull the trigger on lead gen? I would say I would take your I'd say give do you have any images at all? Like
No,
no content, no artwork at all?
I mean nothing good. It's like
Like
no.
even decent though, cuz decent can actually work. Or is it just garbage?
I could send it to you, but I would imagine it's garbage.
Okay. Well, um if it's not garbage, then I could start running some lead gen right away with it. Um if I do need to create some content, uh, if it's just for lead gen, it doesn't have to be super intense. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Like it can just be images, and we can just say like, here's kind of like a decent image of the product launching on Kickstarter. Sign up. If we want to build out like video campaign, then obviously that's more work, more intensive. Um, but what can also be done is, since you guys are, at least it sounds like you're pretty positive, because some people are like just running lead gen to figure out if they want to do a Kickstarter, but it sounds like you guys are doing the Kickstarter and figuring out if you want to do a little bit of lead gen. In that situation, I would say the content creation for lead gen, just like hire me, pay me for the Kickstarter campaign design, and then as I'm shooting video for that and editing video for that and taking pictures for that, I'll pull some out of that I can then use for the lead generation content.
Okay, so you would, yeah, that makes sense. Shoot the
It,
video, get get some photography going, and now you've built up a little cache of content, and you can start doing some lead gen before launch, rather than before you've done all that, right?
right,
Which is a little backwards, but because we're going to do the campaign anyway,
right.
we'd rather have like good lead gen.
Yeah.
rather
Otherwise,
than
otherwise the
like,
conversation is like, okay, if you want me to run the ads and create the content, lead gen, 1750, and then we've got to have another conversation for okay, now I'm creating Kickstarter campaign. But if you just go Kickstarter campaign, that's a lot more content creation than probably what I would create for lead gen. So I can just then easily pull stuff out of that for the lead gen.
okay, so walk me through that financially. If we
Uh,
went campaign, then lead gen, then launch, is that just the 3,500 basically?
yeah, I mean, I've got to set up, so like the content's kind of all lumped in there, but I still have to go set up the ads. And I usually charge like 500 if I'm just like setting up the lead gen, like no content at all. So that would be more like 4 grand. But I mean, if that's absurd to you or whatever, like there's flexibility there. I'm not gonna trip too hard over that.
That's fine. So 4 grand would get us basically to launch.
Yep.
Um,
And then
and then,
calculate a little bit of ad budget there too
okay, what would you
for the
recommend?
lead
Like,
gen.
do you know yet what you would like roughly recommend? Like a couple grand or less or more?
Do you have a goal of like how many people you want to sign up or anything like that, or is it just we're gonna kind of get what we can?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think one of the people that I talked to, their goal was, and this is a large range. Let me see. I'm going back to my notes. They build a landing page. They build like all this stuff. 1 million impressions before launch, 3,000 to 10,000 emails of interested people. That's like that's what their goal was. And they said they wanted 100 people that would guarantee to back it on day one to build that momentum. So that was their goal.
Gotcha.
I don't know how much that would cost, but that seemed like a good goal.
Yeah, those are pretty common numbers that people aim for to like have a good list of people going into a campaign. So the way I would look at it is your cost per lead is going to be somewhere from, and sorry, it's kind of a wide range, but probably somewhere from 50 cents, but that's like extremely low, but 50 cents to maybe like $15. And if you want me to get like kind of guess more specifically, I'd say maybe 4 to 10 for your product. But again, like those are really hard to guess, and I don't really like guessing. What I try and always tell people is the best thing to do is just jump in there, run some tests, run some ads, and then you just know what your cost per lead is looking like.
Yeah.
And so, if your goal is 3,000, then just kind of take that range, or like, let's say, if you want to call it $5 cost per lead times 3,000, that's 15 G's, which is a lot for what I think you guys are trying to do. But so maybe you go, but again, it just varies a lot, because maybe your cost per lead is 70 cents, and then that becomes quite a bit more achievable.
Right. And what would you consider a lead? Like just getting the email address?
Yeah, someone giving you their email address.
And there's no way to like create different levels of leads?
Well,
I guess that's kind of the deposit thing.
Yeah, so Launch Boom, that's what it sounds like that's what they've kind of created, but that seems like their own thing that they've created, right?
Yeah.
Inside of Facebook itself, you can kind of, right? Like like if I run an ad to people interested in betting, okay, well then I might get a ton of signups, but who knows how qualified those signups are. But if I run an ad to people who are interested in Kickstarter and betting and have recently made a purchase online in the past like 30 days, then that might be a much more qualified lead, but maybe a more expensive lead. So you can kind of play that game, but what you're asking, and like as far as like kind of what Launch Boom is doing, like that sounds like how they've set their stuff up. Facebook in itself doesn't really have like one thing. So the closest you can get to that with Facebook is, and this would have to happen once the campaign's live, because what we could do is once people have backed the campaign, once there's been enough people that have backed the campaign, you can take their emails and upload them to Facebook, and Facebook will find and create audiences for you based on this group of people that you already gave it, that are the type of people that back your project. So you can do that, which and that is super powerful. But if and we can do that with like, we get all these emails beforehand, but those people haven't actually spent their money on your product yet, so we don't know that they're actually customers. We just know that they're giving us their email. And so it gets, you got to be in the campaign. You've got to have gained some backers already, and then you can do that. I do also have from my previous campaigns, I have a bunch of different lists and got like thousands and thousands of over 10,000 emails from my previous campaigns, and I can use those as well. I can email those people and ask them to sign up. I can create audiences on Facebook with those. So that can be one way to get closer to more qualified leads. But yeah, as far
Okay.
as I don't have some intense system like Launch Boom does, and if I did,
Sure.
I would probably be talking numbers closer to theirs than
Right.
you know.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so what do you, like? Let's just say we work with you, we do all this stuff. If you like, do I have to then once? I guess once the project launches, um, if some of those other companies get involved, it probably does that mean we couldn't work with you, or
No.
like I think Jalop is exclusive though. I think they're the
Oh,
only ones
I
like
think yes, they. I think they are exclusive, and they're also picky about what products they take on. You have to like
yeah. Who
get
knows if they picked if they would even pick us?
right, but no, like Funded Today is another one, for example, and
Yeah.
I've been on campaigns with them before, so it's not problematic. The real way that becomes problematic is just in the numbers, right? Because if you're giving me a percentage for marking the campaign, and then they come in and they're like, "Hey, we want 30%,"
Right.
then you're giving up like half your campaign at that point, which is or at least
Yeah.
half of whatever they bring in, I guess you could say. But yeah,
Yeah. I don't love Funded Today. I have multiple friends that work there, and I've heard a lot of horror stories.
yeah,
I know that they're good at certain things or whatever, but yeah.
yeah, that's a great way to
What
put it.
about BackerKit? Do you have
Yeah, but
any experience with BackerKit?
I do have a little bit of experience with BackerKit. They're more for managing the campaign. They're not. They don't really advertise your campaign per se. They have
Yeah.
like an option for add-ons, so people can like add on extra things to the campaign, and you can raise a little bit of extra money that way. But as far as like advertising and growing the campaign, BackerKit's not so much for that. It's more for
Yeah.
managing your backers and your orders and your fulfillment and all that.
And do you work with them before or after you've launched?
Um, I don't know if they do much pre-launch. Let me double check that. Because like I said, they don't really do like advertising or anything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's just when you're like. I mean, you sign up with them before you launch, so like it's all integrated into your campaign for when you launch. But I don't think they're doing any like advertising or community building
Yeah.
or anything beforehand.
Okay. So theoretically, we could go. Basically, $4,000 would get us building the whole campaign plus the lead gen, and then we would need to figure out basically what our leads cost and figure out either we say, okay, we'll spend a max of $3,000, or if it's super cheap, maybe we say, okay, we want to really blow it up, and maybe we bump that number up. But whatever, it's our ad budget on top of the $4,000.
Correct. And to get a good idea of a cost per lead, like kind of a bare minimum budget you'd need, I'd say like a few hundred. If you want to like really comfortably get a feel, closer to $1,000. But with a few $100, you can start to get a feel for sure of what your cost per lead is going to be.
Okay. So after $1,000, basically, you can generate a really good cost per lead. Okay.
Yes. The only thing that causes a problem there is just if people don't really like the product, right? Like,
Yeah.
if because like that's just always the case, right? If you can throw the best advertising and marketing on top of a bad product, and people if they don't like it and want it, they still don't like it and want it. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
if the product is good and there is interest for it, then yeah, I should within that amount of money be able to find targeting for people that actually do like and want the product at a decent cost per lead.
Okay. Let's see here. When they first sent me this product, I had a similar. I'm not saying you had this reaction, but I think you did. Where like, okay, so it's just like normal sheets, just like cotton sheets. Like, what about like making it out of bamboo, or what about weaving silver into it, or what about making it out of friggin' like lanolin or whatever? like do something interesting with the product, because that's like what everybody does now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because like I do think that's totally the Kickstarter world, but at the same time I'm like, you don't go into Pottery Barn, who probably sells a lot more bedding than Kickstarter, and you don't see that stuff there, right? So like I'm torn as to if I should like force that on these guys or not, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. Yeah, because it's like I said, those are clearly the trends that work on Kickstarter for bedding stuff, right? You weave the silver in there, make it out of something that's sustainable. Like that's what's kind of catching people right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the creator's call. That's their call. If that's like not what they want their product to be about, and they want people to focus on, if they wove some silver into the whole thing, it would help. It wouldn't hurt. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah, that's what I've got for you there. I don't really have much more. It's kind of the creator's call. You know, if they want to tailor their product in the best way possible for the Kickstarter platform, then yeah, I'd probably look at doing something with the fabric that's what we just talked about, silver or bamboo or something out there that's already been proven to work, you know?
So right now, are you just a single operation freelance guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you go to school or anything, or you do this full time?
No, I do this full time. I actually dropped out of school a few years ago when I started learning how to do Kickstarter campaigns.
Cool.
But yeah, I do Kickstarter stuff, and then I've also got a little Amazon business where I sell product on Amazon.
And some of those things that you sent me were from like 2017. Do you have any? Do you still do stuff like currently and like within the last year or so?
The last, I might have one. I don't have one so I have two that I'm working on right now. As of the last, let's see, it would be 8 months. I'll have to go look if I have something in the last year, because I spent the last, from like last October. Yeah, from like last October till recently, I don't know if you pay attention to baseball at all, but I was building Alex Bregman's YouTube channel and running his Instagram. He's like a top 5, top 10 player. And so
I played baseball at BYU. I know Alex.
Okay, cool.
I don't know him personally.
Yeah, gotcha.
But that's cool.
Yeah, so I just but in order, yeah, I closed down everything I was doing to go do that. So I'll have to look at when my last campaign was and send that over. But
that's good to know. When I saw stuff from 17 and nothing, it's good to know what you were doing, right? Like I just was curious about.
Yeah, you want to make sure I'm still in the mix of things. But yeah, I definitely am. And like right now, I'm running lead gen for 2 different clients for Kickstarter campaigns and building their campaigns. And yeah, like for one of those, I'm getting leads for 33 cents, which is kind of crazy. But like, yeah, so it's, I don't like, especially with Kickstarters, I don't like, I don't like trying to take on projects if I don't know what I'm doing and not like in the mix of it. So
maybe what we do is we figure out everything up until launch, and then kind of, I don't know, and then maybe we have to do this beforehand, but figuring out the percentage after launch could be done later. Do you think? Or is that something you'd like to have figured out beforehand?
No, I think we can. No, that's fine. If you guys want to do like the set price for building the whole thing and running the lead gen, and then if you guys choose to use me to then market it, then yeah, we can discuss that percentage. Then that's fine.
Okay.
And yeah, if you're paying me to build and market it, then we're not gonna be talking about a 20%. It'll be much lower than that.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Nice talking to you. Have a good day.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.